Well, welcome along to Betting Weekly Premier League show. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, alongside me, as per usual, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Transfer deadline day looming. Nigel, does it make any difference to your bets? Are you looking at those big money transfers and thinking, yeah, I'll side with them, bit of a futures market, or I'll fade them, they've lost some players? Does it make any sort of difference with your betting habits?
Good morning to you. I don't think so. I think it's more important if anybody loses key players rather than gains some key players. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to gel for these players to come in. Very rarely do you see someone come in the January window and then change it up. Jack will probably be an example, but I can't think of one on the top of my head when you've just thrown that question on me about 30 seconds ago. But I do think that I don't think there's much in it really. Certain teams, looking at, West Ham, for example, they're desperate for a striker. If they can get a striker in, a top-notch striker, they might change their fortunes around a little bit. But the rest of them, Man City are bringing in players, but they're going to take a little bit of time to gel. And who's to say they're going to feature? I don't think they're going to feature straight away. So, not really. I'd be more worried about teams losing players than gaining players.
Jack, what's your take on transfers? Does it impact your week-to-week betting angles? Or as Nigel points out, it's maybe if Wolves lose Acuna, that'd be a big story, not so much Marmoush going to City, because as Nigel rightly points out, Pep signs players and he doesn't play them, does he? What's your take?
Yeah, good day to you both. Good day to all the listeners and viewers. And yeah, I'm much on the same page. I think, some key departures would be the worry. You mentioned Cunha there. I think it is Isaac, but Newcastle aren't going to let him go in January. And yeah, I think Arsenal has been well documented. They absolutely need a striker. If they could bring someone in that could hit the ground running, that could make a little bit of a difference. But other than that, I say it's those losses, and probably for those weaker sides down towards the bottom that get cherry picked, which would be the concern. So certainly talk of Cunha, as you rightly mentioned, which would be a massive blow for Wolves. So watched intently over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, be interested to see what happens. Deadline day, of course, coming up but fast, but in terms of betting angles, maybe not as important as some would make it out. Let's get straight into the P&L, shall we? I was about to go straight into the leans, but we'll go P&L as we put it at the top of the show, as we always do. Tag us in at Because We Win if you are playing along this weekend. Don't forget, we've got the Betting Weekly newsletter as well, bettingweeklystudios.com. We have got that Bonanza, Nigel. We should mention that, shouldn't we? Next Wednesday, is it? The Champions League Bonanza. Is that exclusive to Betting Weekly newsletter subscribers? What's the story?
Yes, it is. The final round of the Champions League. All those different matches kicking off exactly the same time. It's going to be an incredible night of in-play trading. Bismarck and Steve Wiss will be doing it live, and it's exclusive for the Betcast, exclusive for subscribers only of the newsletter. So make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. Subscribe to this channel as well. Lots of new subscribers join us. Another record month, I think, and record month on views. So keep it coming.
Okay, Bournemouth against Nottingham Forest here. Arguably one of the games of the weekend here. Bournemouth banging form, unbeaten in 11, plus 106. Nigel, Forest plus 245 seems a big price to me about Forest here. Bournemouth were brilliant against the odds at Newcastle. An awful lot of people, unfortunately, left money behind the counter with that one. But they suddenly seem very short to beat a Forest side. We know how good they are. We think that they could go all the way and get a top 4 spot. What's your take on this one? Saturday, 10 a.m.
Well, I think first of all is that, we were heavy, myself and Jack got it badly wrong last week. And
not the only.
I know. I'm just about to say. Nobody. I was going to very close to put them as the 2U bet. Jack went the 2U bet, but everybody, no one would have expected that. I walked into to the West Ham match, saw a goal in, and thought, "Oh, that's it, 1-0 Newcastle. This is job done." And then I realised it was Bournemouth who scored, and thought, "Hang on a minute, we're in trouble here." But that was an incredible performance from Bournemouth, with all those players injured as well, to go in there and do it. And it was a tactical genius from Areola, how he set his side up to go to Newcastle and win. Whether that is a result that we look at and think, well, that's a freak result, can they back that up? Well, they are unbeaten in 11. They haven't put in that kind of performance, that's for sure. Cliver is up front, he's scoring goals for fun. The confidence in the club was highlighted in his interview after the match, when he just more or less said, yes, we can go for the Champions League. Yes, we can go for whatever we want to go for. We're a good side. And but they got Forest here, who are unbeaten in 9 and won 8 matches. I think this is a very, very, very difficult match to have a very, very strong opinion. I think it'll be a good match to watch. But if we look at earlier in the season, it was 1-1 draw. This fixture last season was a 1-1 draw. Forest have never beaten Bournemouth since they've come back in the Premier League. There's been 5 matches, 3 wins for Bournemouth and 2 draws. And I just think with these two sides in the form they are in, I think they'll both keep their unbeaten run going. And I think the draw here at plus 280 is a big price. I mean, there's been 3 draws in the 5 Premier League matches, draw early in the season, draw in this fixture last year, both 1-1. I just wouldn't be surprised to see it be another 1-1 draw again. Bournemouth are one of them sides. Every time I get with them, they lose. Every time I oppose them, they hit one of the best teams in the Premier League for 4 goals. I can't read them at all. So I'm firmly sitting on the fence in this opening match. I'm going to go for the draw. It was very close to being my hot dog, but plus 280 going for the draw.
Jack, what's your take? I mean, a draw might suit them both. They could come out, sort of dust themselves down and think, yeah, we'll take a point off an informed team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't need any help, but Bournemouth certainly made me look a right mug last week with that performance. They were sensational, weren't they? So I think a little bit of disrespect's come in with everyone going, oh, Newcastle were tired, Eddie Howe saying it. And you think, well, come on, look, Bournemouth have played a lot of games as well, and their injuries are really, really critical. And so they've kind of patchworked their team together and were sensational. So fair play to them. My lean is exactly the same as Nigel's for exactly the same reasons. So I fancied the tie here. I fancied the 1-1, but I was tempted with the Forest handicap because you can get a plus handicap there. So you kind of, if Forest can go and get that win. But so that it was 2014 last time they won against Bournemouth. So it surprises me really because I thought Bournemouth's style of play would suit Forest's style of play, but it's not been the case. And so my lean would be on the tie. So for all the same reasons. One thing I would say is an extra look as far as some in maybe the props or the score market's concerned. Bournemouth are the 4th worst team at defending set pieces. So Chris Wood, aerial threat we know about. Milenkovic as well, who had that goal ruled out last week, could be a real long price if someone's looking for something a little bit extra in a very tough game to call.
Yeah, we like the tie. Watch out for those props as well with Wood and Milenkovic. If that's your bag, let's get to Brighton versus Everton. Leans from the boys with this one as well. Another Saturday 10 a.m. game, Eastern. Brighton minus 159, Everton round about plus 460 here. Nigel, Brighton have won their last 3. Unbeaten in 7, an upswing in form, but they've not really played too many good teams, you would suggest. I mean, I always look at Brighton and think they play well against teams that allow them to play, but against a side like Everton, it might be not as straightforward for them like when they play United or Arsenal or Liverpool. What's your take on this one?
Saying not very good teams, they Manchester United. So that's your team. So that shows you the highlight the way that Manchester United are in at the moment. Not considered a good team.
Mate. That's where they are.
I don't like to go on about my past records. It's something I don't like to do on this show. But I remember a couple of years ago, I gave Everton to win this fixture about 8-1, and they went there and absolutely smashed them. This time around, they're half the price they were then, plus 460. But you look at Brighton's record. They said they've won the last 3 matches. They've all won them away from home. At home, they haven't won in 7, and they don't really do very well when they're a heavy favourite. And they're a heavy favourite here. I think Everton will be well delighted with that performance against Tottenham. I know it was Tottenham and they sort of held on at the end there, but 3 goals at home. Everton fans haven't seen that all season. So to get 3 goals at home, they'd be absolutely buoyed by that. And I think the big thing for Everton in that match was the goal from Calvert-Lewin. That is a huge, huge, huge boast for Everton Football Club to have him get back scoring goals. If they can get him confident again and David Moyes can get him confident again, they've got a striker who's going to see them get the goals to get them up the Premier League table. And I was looking at him again as a hot dog to score at any time. Plus 340, Calvert-Lewin to score at any time there. I thought that was a big price because I do fancy goals in this match. I think there's goals in it. The reverse fixture in the first day of the season was a 3-0 win for Brighton. Brighton, I just think that Brighton, as a heavy minus underdog, I think they can be gettable, as you said, Dan, in your introduction there. So I was looking at goals. I think Moyes will be a little bit more entertaining. I think that they saw the fact that they scored 3 goals very early. The crowd were behind them. I think they'll look at Brighton and think we might be able to get at this side, and I think they'll take the game to them. And I don't think the odds here suggest that Brighton should be a minus 157 shot and Everton at plus 460. I think it's a lot closer than those odds suggest. I'm leaning towards Everton in some capacity. I do like goals over 2.5 minus 117. Would be a lean here, but I also think if you're looking for a goal scorer at a big price, that could hit some form and could be down to sort of plus 160s, 170s in the next couple of weeks. Calvert-Lewin here at plus 320 is a very big price for Everton. after scoring against Tottenham at the weekend.
He's a streaky striker. We've seen that before. He goes on runs where he scores in 3 or 4 on the spin. And you're right about Brighton. They've drawn at home against 3 of the bottom 4. So sort of half lean on Everton with Calvert-Lewin as well. Jack, what's your take on this one?
My lean is taking Everton on a plus 0.75 Asian handicap. So half a stake on a half goal start and the other half on a 1 Asian. So a push if they only lose by a goal. So for me, really one to swerve because I can't quite work out what we're going to get from both these sides. Brighton are hard to pin down. How much weight can you put on that victory against the worst Manchester United side in history? Or also is Everton going to be a one match wonder against Spurs there? But certainly I agree that Moyes has identified putting an arm around Calvert-Lewin's shoulder and getting him firing again. Anything like what it was like a couple of seasons ago will be hugely beneficial to driving Everton up the table. So yeah, another one I fancy a draw in. To be fair, I think Brighton are. I say are a lot better when they're allowed to play a bit more and when they've got a side that's going to sit in tight like Everton will do. Find it a lot harder. They drew 4 on the spin prior to that. Those 2 wins they've got in the league, 6 of the last 8 prior to that as well. Drawn games. So it lends itself to that. Everton's away games, 10 games in total. This bet's cashed in 5 of them, 3 pushes and just 2 defeats. And that's how badly they've been playing as well. So it's got a full, a good option to go out at a decent price. I think minus 103. We'll see if Moyes can keep the run going.
Yeah, we all need an arm around us every now and then from the boss, don't we, Nigel?
Yeah, you win up carrying your own.
Propping you up.
We've had some we've had some leans on the show. Let's get a 2-unit play from Mr. Nigel Seeley, ladies and gentlemen. Liverpool versus Ipswich is where the big bucks are going. 10 a.m. Eastern at Anfield. Liverpool minus 1100 or so. It's a short price for the 2U player. You go minus 1100 for the 2U player.
Yep. Play it safe. I'm going Liverpool plus 2 goals. On the Asian handicap. We need a winner. Liverpool plus 2 goals minus 5.
I'm gonna say after last week we need a winner. What is the 2-unit play, Nigel?
My 2-unit play is Liverpool to win to 0 at minus 120 with Bet Rivers. Again, obviously it's the same game parlay. Effectively, you click on Liverpool on the money line and Ipswich under a half a goal. One thing I've learned from last week, I'm never going to put a team up as my 2-unit play when they haven't played on the Thursday because the Ipswich performance against Brighton on the Thursday was so bad. I thought, oh no, what have I done here? And then we go into the weekend against Manchester City and they get thumped 6-0. I still think Ipswich are a decent-ish side. I still think they've got a fighter's chance of staying up, but the last 2 performances have been way below par. And if you look at them against the top teams in the Premier League this season, so the teams vying for Champions League positions, their results have been pretty woeful. They played Liverpool on the opening day of the season. Liverpool went to Portman Road and won 2-0. They played Arsenal. It was an Arsenal win, 1-0. They went to Manchester City. Obviously, it was a 6-0 win. Forest beat them 1-0. Newcastle beat them 4-0. So they've lost to 0 against all of those teams at the top end. They realise that their stay in the Premier League is not going to be judged on these kind of matches. It's what they do against the Wolves and the big matches coming up. So, it really is a sort of a lot of teams at the bottom just think to themselves, well, let's just try not to go and get beat too much. Let's protect ourselves because we've got some big matches coming up. And the Ipswich have got some massive matches coming up. They've got to play Southampton at home after this match. And then they have to go to Crystal Palace and they have Wolves at home in the early part of March. So they have some big games to deal with. This will not be on their priorities. This will be, this not get humiliated like we did last week. I think they'll be working on defence, as you say, teams, when we said before on this show, when you beat 6-0, 7-0, you work on your defence. But Liverpool left it late against Brentford. They battered Brentford, absolutely battered them, changed it off the bench and then scored 2 goals right at the end of the game to win 2-0. Sign of a champions. And I just think Liverpool to win 2-0 here is the bet. Minus 120 is the price. Ipswich have got bigger matches to come starting next week at home to Southampton, which is a must-win match. You don't want to go to Liverpool, get 2 players injured, get beat 4-0 and be without them against Southampton next week. So, Liverpool to win 2-0, minus 120. It's in the last 7 losses for Ipswich, 6 of them they've lost to 0. And against all the better teams in the Premier League, they've lost to 0 in almost all the games they played.
Yeah, good stuff. Good analysis. Good price as well, I think, for that. Jack, has ordered off the menu with his lean here. Get your tin hat on, Jack, because Nigel's going to love this.
Yeah, of course he is.
Full
Yeah.
tilt. Is it full tilt? We've got the full tilt coming up.
It is. It's how much field tilt Liverpool are going to have over or under 70%. No. Top of the show, you mentioned about the transfers. The Lap's been linked with a couple of clubs, hasn't he? That would be a big loss for Ipswich if he was to go in this transfer window. We talked about the lesser lights, so that's one to keep an eye on there. He's a big part of what they do. I've actually gone with one of the I found this a tough one to get on side with, so I went with one of the Bet Rivers specials here, and it's for a penalty to be awarded in the game. There's a little bit of stats behind it. 5 penalties awarded for Liverpool, one of the highest in the league. 5 penalties conceded by Ipswich. Only one team's conceded more than them. And the referee's Michael Salisbury. Last season, he had 14 Premier League games. He gave 10 penalties, so an average of 0.7 penalties per game. This season, he's had 6 games and not given one. I think there's one coming soon. He's actually not given a penalty in any of his last 12, so I think there's one round the corner. I've looked back, and I don't think he's refereed a Liverpool game, let alone refereed at Anfield. So sounds like the perfect opportunity for him to point to the spot. So that comes in at plus 175. So, yeah, a very light-hearted lean from me on that one.
Yeah, have a bit of fun with that. And
it wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to go really left field. That's all right.
Is it? Yeah. What penalty? I don't know. I just think that really wouldn't be in your wheelhouse, would it? Really, penalty kick awarded. Well, you don't go all the way down to the specials.
I try.
How far down do you go on the like the list of bets, Nigel, before you think, nah, I'm not having any of them? But halfway down,
free markets.
Yeah.
But top goal scorer. I'll go money line.
Money line overs and unders.
Both teams to score. Ace handicap. Anytime goal scorer. Full tilt. Don't even turn the page.
Southampton against Newcastle next. Another 10 a.m. Saturday game. Saints are 6-1. Newcastle very short. We've got leans from the boys here in this one. Look, I mean, can we get with Newcastle here, Nigel? After what happened last time, they've been minus money away twice this season and won them both. Saints have been a little bit better, maybe. I don't know. Difficult one, I thought, this one. I don't really want to bet Newcastle at minus 245.
No, you want to bet Newcastle, but would you bet Southampton at plus 575? I mean, that's the difference. I mean, they are on course to breaking records here as one of the worst teams ever in the Premier League. The new manager hasn't really changed it around so much, and but they are a little bit more attack-minded. And a little bit more, they're going in for a little bit. Their metrics a little bit higher. Scoring 2 goals against Forest, but the game was pretty much it was over, and they got 2 late goals. Scored against Manchester United as well. I think there's goals in the match, and that was my angle here. Newcastle obviously were in sensational form, winning 9 back-to-back, scoring at least 2 goals in all those matches. In 11 of their last 12, they scored at least 2 goals, and then Bournemouth come to town, changed it, and just absolutely blew them away. They were shell-shocked. You're not going to expect that from Southampton, but I do expect Southampton to get on the score sheet here. I see this as like a 3-1 Newcastle win. Newcastle bounce back. I did see Isaac was minus 110 to score at any time, which I thought was it's changed now. But I thought that was a big price in a match. We expect goals. I've gone for over 3.5 goals at plus 112, and the reason I've gone for over 3.5 goals at plus 112 is because, like I said, Newcastle scored at least 2 in 11 of their last 12. The only time they didn't was last week. And the both teams to score yes is minus 175. So if you're expecting Southampton to score and Newcastle score, it's minus 175. 3.5 is plus 112. So what Bet Rivers is virtually saying is they do expect Southampton to score because that's why they're minus 175. And if they do and Newcastle do their trend of scoring at least 2, well, that's saying this is a 3-ball game. And we're expecting a 3-ball game to get plus 112 compared to minus 175. Both teams to score no. So for me, I fancy goals. We know Southampton are dreadful, not conceding for fun, offering a bit more of an attack minded. They're going out. They're just going to go. Listen, we know we're going to get relegated. Let's go out and have a go. And up against a hungry Newcastle, I expect Newcastle to get back to winning ways and score at least 2 goals again. So 3-1 Newcastle would be my lean on the correct score, but on the sort of the standard markets, over 3.5 goals at plus 112.
Brilliant. Lovely betting analysis. Love that. Jack, variation on a theme for you. You're focusing on Newcastle, but you're going for goals as well.
Yeah, much the same. I think after last week, they probably couldn't handpick a better game to have than Southampton to sort of get back on the horse, really, to be fair, could they? So I messaged you this morning, didn't I, asking you if you knew the last time Newcastle were as short as this away from home in a league game. And we trawled back, 200 games, I think it was, and we still couldn't find it.
Yeah.
No, they went to Sheffield United and won 8-0 last season. They were not quite this short then, were they? So, for me, I've gone for over 2.5 Newcastle goals because it's plus money. Again, a plus money play at plus 110. So, I just feel that they've got the opportunity against this Southampton side that really are leaking goals. Even with the managerial change, conceded 3 or more in each of their last 3 and 4 of the last 5 at home in the league. Goals against 27 of their 48 goals conceded this season have come at home, so they've been worse defensively in front of their own fans than they have been when they're on the road. So Newcastle scored 3 or more in 4 of that winner run of 6 in the Premier League. So Nigel picked up on it already. They are scoring goals for fun. They've got lots of threat across the board. So I'll focus purely on the Newcastle goals to get a plus money play out of it. Plus 110 over 2.5 Newcastle goals.
Yeah, both leans from the boys there with that game. I think they're really smart bets. Let's go to Wolves Arsenal. Next up, we've got Jack's 1 unit play. So an official pick for you here. Wolves 6-1, Arsenal a short -230. Easy winners against Dinamo Zagreb in midweek, but they've only won 4 from 7 away when minus money. We're trusting the Gunners here, Jack. You've got your 1 unit play.
I have, I've just gone on goals. I just feel there will be goals in this game. Over 2.75 Asian total is the line. -108, I think that's a fair play. Obviously, we've got half a stake on over 2.5 goals, half a stake on that 3 Asian total. So if there is exactly 3 goals, we'll win, say, half that play and get the other half refunded. So ideally, we're looking for 4 or more here, which I think is certainly on the cards. Of course, the main defensive news for Arsenal is no Saliba. He's out for a couple of more games yet, I believe. That does impact them there. They will have to have another reshuffle around at the back. Of course, they did keep a clean sheet last night, but so you were obviously at the game and said that the opponents weren't up to an awful lot, so I won't read too much into that. And I think Wolves can hurt them, but so this has the potential to unravel, I think, and could be any kind of goals, any kind of score come the end of the game. But you look at the Wolves' performances, watched them against Chelsea on Monday. They just seem to leave so much space in those defensive areas. They've got 3 centre-backs playing, but we've seen it in the last 2 or 3 games where players are just unmarked in the middle of the box and have a complete free option. They're also terrible at defending set pieces, which is the kind of other side of this one, which lends itself to thinking there will be goals in it, because we all know how strong Arsenal are at scoring from set pieces, the most goals scored by any team in the Premier League this season. And Wolves have conceded 15 goals from set pieces. And you look at the ones that they conceded, 2 from corners against Chelsea. They also let Cucurella run free into the box from a left-back position to score from like the 6-yard box. So it's just really poor stuff from them, and they're fortunate to be out of the bottom 3, to be fair. You look at their games across the season, at least 3 goals in 10 of the last 11 Wolves games in all competitions. Their games average 3.77 this season. They have just been full of them. Both ends, though, to be fair. There's been 3 in 8, 4 or more in 10. So they're the numbers that we're looking at. This is only lost in 4 Wolves games this season. So that's a high percentage. And look at Arsenal, away from home, as you said, they have struggled a bit. They are conceding plenty of goals. It's 1 in 4 of their last 6 away games in all competitions. They scored 5 at West Ham. They scored 5 at Crystal Palace. And this is the sort of game where they can go and score the goals, because I think for them, ideal that Havertz has been able to get a couple of goals in recent games, but they've got that threat from set pieces as well. So Wolves, they've scored in 9 of 10 at home, and I think they can score against an Arsenal side that are 9 without a clean sheet on the road. So I've gone completely on goals here. Over 2.75 Asian total at -108.
You got that, Nigel?
Yeah, got it. I was looking at the same market actually. Again, I was looking at the overs in this match, the way that Wolves defend. But I looked at a couple of player props. Believe it or not,
Go on, son.
I know you're shocked by it. I was shocked by it. Because I was delving down into the markets, and obviously, I couldn't believe the price I found. So I was looking. I thought I might find a 25 to 1 hot dog or something here. I might sign at a big price that we can get some value on it. And I was looking at Gabriel to score at any time, obviously from the set pieces,
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, my dreams never came true because the price that I was given here. Have a guess what price Gabriel is to score the first goal in this match?
First goal?
That's $9.50.
Yeah.
And plus $3.90 to score any time. I thought, listen, for a centre half, you'd be wanting about $7 to score at any time and about 20 to 1 to score the first goal. So I was going to go for Gabriel to score in this match at a big price because of the way that Wolves defend set pieces. But no, I do think there'd be goals both sides. Wolves can't defend at the moment, and Arsenal obviously they've just got to go out and win, try and do whatever they can to close the gap and hope Liverpool slip, which doesn't look inevitable. The interesting one is Cunha. Obviously, he's been linked with a move to Arsenal. He might be, if there is any truth in that, he might not start. If there is any truth or there is any chance that he does go there in the transfer, and he might not start. He clearly wants to leave the club, and he could be a player that, if he doesn't get what he wants, could be a fade really for the next few months because he might sulk. But yeah, Arsenal Wolves over 2.75 goals, and if you're looking for a prop, Gabriel to score at any time at plus 390. A little bit on the short side for me, but the case for corners is such a strong one that Gabriel and the way Arsenal take the corners and look for him without Saliba, he's going to be the main man they're trying to find at plus 390 to score at any time.
12:30 Saturday's Man City versus Chelsea. We've got Nigel's hot dog and we've got Jack's 2-unit play here. City a minus 113 or thereabouts. Chelsea plus 260 here. Nigel, what are we doing with City here? 2 up against Paris Saint-Germain, got beat. 3rd time this season, 2 up and haven't won. City, biggest price against Chelsea at home since the 16-17 season. What are we playing? Let's get your hot dog first up.
My hot dog's Chelsea on the money line, plus 250. It was plus 275 last night. And obviously with the way they fell apart against Paris Saint-Germain, there was no reason you could see what was going on there. I mean, it's staggering what we're seeing. We saw it against Brentford, we saw it against Feyenoord, we saw it against Paris Saint-Germain. Pep Guardiola's now come out. He's had problems with his marriage. There's a separation with his wife, which clearly is that's not gonna help the situation. It's a mess. It's a real mess. And now they've got next Wednesday they've got the biggest game of the club's season at home to Bruges, which isn't a certainty. And then even if they win that, they've got to hope that other results go their way. I mean, they should. If they win that, they should make the top 24. But it's staggering to think you've got to beat Bruges in the final day. The team that was the anti-post favourites to win the Champions League, the team that were favourites after 6 games, or 4 or 5 games. This is just so sudden at what's happened here. And then when you break down Chelsea's wins, we said they've done well in recent weeks, but their wins have been against Leicester, newly promoted club, West Ham, who haven't got a striker, who've got a huge injury crisis, Salford from League 2, and Ipswich, another newly promoted club. They've lost these Liverpool, Tottenham twice, Brighton, Villa, Bournemouth, haven't beaten Brentford. So when they've been up against the big boys, they haven't won. They've got beat 9 times out of 10, and they've failed to win. It's against the 2 of the newly promoted clubs in the Premier League, 2 of the worst 3 in the Premier League, and a League 2 side, and a West Ham side who are decimated by injuries that they've got the win. So I just don't know how I don't know how anyone could bet Man City at minus 105. I just don't know how you can bet them. Chelsea on the other side, nothing to fear. Young side going there, full of goals, full of desire. I know they've got a match tonight in the Europa Conference. They haven't got a match tonight.
No, they haven't.
They haven't.
No.
They're not in it, are they? Sorry, I just realised that. So, but I was going to say it doesn't really matter anyway. So they haven't had to play this week compared to Manchester City. Have had that big trip to Paris. I think that's a huge advantage for them. And I just can't make any case for Man City the way they're defended at minus 105. So Chelsea is my hot dog here at plus 250.
Great stuff. 2-unit play for Jack on this game as well. So a lot riding on it. What's the 2U? What's the best bet of the weekend in the Premier League, Jack?
Yeah, I've gone for over 3.25 Asian total, so I'm fancying plenty of goals in this one. Originally pinpointed as my hot dog because this was an Asian 4 total, which was a bit crazy, but it was over plus 200. So price has changed a bit, so I've gone down, and now we've got this as a 2-unit play with a lower line, so 3.25. And yeah, the main reason for this is if City go 2 up, it used to be a case of game over, wasn't it? Rodri would control it in the middle of the park. And that's been the biggest difference, I think, that you've seen this season is that every side's not now going, oh, this is damage limitation now. It's like, hang on, we're not out of this yet. We can still keep going. As I said, final Brentford. and how Paris Saint-Germain, the later sides, have turned it around. It's incredible. And Chelsea has certainly got all the tools going forward to really hurt this Manchester City side. On the flip side of it, one thing that is kind of working for City at the moment is in the forward areas. Foden's come back, and Nigel rightly mentioned Pep's issues off the field, which probably does explain a few things, doesn't it? And also,
maybe she's the brains behind it all.
It could well be. It could well be. Yeah. So
anyway, sorry.
Yeah. It's all been revealed all of a sudden. But he actually mentioned as well that Foden was in a real bad place at the start of the season as well, which was kind of kept under the radar until he's now come good the last 2 or 3 weeks. But having him back, scoring goals and in decent form is massive for Manchester City. And also De Bruyne, his deliveries into the box, his passing in the last 2 or 3 games have been sensational. And I think he will get those opportunities against this Chelsea side that do have their limitations at the back. And we see Chelsea, like we saw on Monday night, where they look to be in control of a game and then they'll switch off for 15, 20 minutes, as they did against Wolves, and start to feel a bit of pressure. So I think this could just be an absolute carnage game. I think there'd be goals at both ends. So it could be any kind of scoreline. We saw a 4-4 last season, albeit at Stamford Bridge. A similar scoreline wouldn't surprise me here, to be fair. You look at the last City games, 6 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, and that's not counting the 8 that was in that Salford one. We'll discount that, but all those proper competitive games have been plenty of goals in them. So, and we've seen Chelsea away from home, a 4-3 at Spurs, a 5-1 at Southampton, a 6-2 at Wolves. So plenty of goals across the board, over 3.25 Asian total at -117, my 2-unit play.
Brilliant stuff. City-Chelsea, sure to be good fun on Saturday, 12:30 Eastern. Let's get to the Sunday fixtures, shall we? We've got Nigel's one you play next. Palace against Brentford, 9 a.m. on Sunday. Palace are favourites here. Nigel, Brentford only 1 win the last time, but they have had some tough games, haven't they? What's your take on this one? Where's the one you going?
The one you's going on under 2.5 goals at +110. I don't fancy there's many goals here. I don't think there's many goals at all here. If you look at Palace at home, I mean, they're the third lowest scorers at home in the Premier League. So there's not many teams that score many goals more than them. I think Ipswich and Southampton are the only teams that scored less goals than them at home. And then you look at Brentford, we know how great they are at home, but on the road, they're the 4th lowest scorers on the road. So they don't score many goals at all. So we may be sort of going into this kind of myth that Brentford are a high-scoring side whenever they go. The goals have dried up a little bit, and they've had 2 0-0 draws on the road in recent weeks against Brighton and Everton. I watched Palace last week against West Ham, and West Ham were dreadful. And we'll come on to West Ham in a minute. They were dreadful. But Palace looked so strong defensively. They play a back three, and the back three were just... They could have played all night. They got Gaya, Lacroix, and Richards, the back three. Absolutely rock solid they were. They were so good, and they were never going to break them. But West Ham were never going to break them down. Go back through the years in this matches. Brentford have never ever. The last time Brentford won it was in 1957. By the way,
here we go.
Elvis Presley was number 1. By the way, with a song called "Too Much" with the Jordanaires. Straight off the top of my head. Anyway, I just think here.
Hang on. How did that one go? That's not a familiar Elvis tune.
I can't remember. I've got it on 7-inch somewhere. I'll have to have a look at. I did get out. That's record if everyone's there. But they look at the way these two teams are going in different. Palace are moving in the right direction. They're like doing really, really well. And there's only 1 point between the two of them. Where they were at the start of the season, Brentford were looking at like what Bournemouth are doing and what Nottingham Forest are doing. And they've gone right down to where they are. And Palace have been exceptional. And they've done it because they're well organised, well drilled, and very, very, very hard to beat. Their last 4 matches are under 2.5 goals. The last 5 of their last 6 have cashed under 2.5 goals. And with that record of low scoring at home at Selhurst Park and Brentford, nowhere near the same intentions and fast pace they have at home on the road, I think this is a low scoring match. The London derby again, back-to-back London derbies for Palace. But honestly, they're very, very hard to break down, Palace. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this being a very, very low scoring game. 1 goal might win it here. And I'm going to go for under 2.5 goals, which I thought was a big, big price at +110. It's plus money. And going to go for under 2.5 goals here.
Unders for Nigel. Back to the future with that one. Jack, what you got for a lean?
Your transfer questions have a bit more momentum as we've gone through this, because Wissa and Mboma have both been linked.
Exactly.
Haven't they? They would be massive.
Don't worry, I know how to tee
massive
up a
losses,
show.
wouldn't they? Honestly, I tell you what, I'm very impressed indeed. But I'm having a little nibble on Palace plus money here, plus 105 as a lean. So Nigel obviously saw them last week. Said they've got lots of decent processes going on. They looked a little bit more like they were towards the back end of last season, and so Eze been fit, he's been contributing. Mateta obviously scoring the goals. So those two are massive for them as far as getting over the line in games concerned, while they take care of business at the back and keep it very, very tight. So won 3 of the last 4 in the Premier League, only 1 defeat in the last 11 as well. And we know about Brentford's toils on the road. So I'm going to at plus money. I thought that was worth a little bit of play.
Spurs against Leicester next up. What on earth do we do with this one, Nigel? Crikey! I mean, Spurs here -2. How can anyone back Spurs? How can anyone have a bet in this? Up to you. What are we thinking here? This is a nightmare for punters.
Well, where do we start? I mean, you're going to bet Tottenham at -220. I was actually all over the place there because I was trying to Google Too Much by Elvis Presley. And I've just been listening. It's quite a good little track, actually. It's a bit rock and rolly. I'll sing it for you. It's very nice. It's quite a good try. Anyway, Google that. It's quite nice. Anyway, no wins for Tottenham since they went to Southampton. And no wins for Leicester since they went to Southampton. So there's a common denominator here. Leicester have lost their last 7 Premier League games. Tottenham have got Hoffenheim tonight. Tottenham's season isn't about this match. It's about whether they win a cup. And their season hinges in the next 2 months with how they progress in the Europa League, how they progress in the League Cup in the second leg against Liverpool, and how they get on against Aston Villa in the FA Cup 4th round. But saying that, if they lose this game 2-0, 3-0, he's in big trouble, isn't he? He's in absolutely big trouble. Well, we can't trust any of them, can we? We can't, we can't make a case on the money line, as we said. We can't really make any positive. So we've got to concentrate on some of the other markets. And one thing we can rely on these two sides to do is score goals and concede goals. And this story is a very attack-minded manager, open manager. Ange Postecoglou's not going to change his system. Tottenham are absolutely decimated by injuries. So when you put it all together, this could be another crazy match. And I think the only bet that you could conceivably have here in this match with any sort of positive is goals. So over 3.5 goals is my bet at -118. Not original, but really, it's very hard to have an opinion on any way this match is going to go apart from seeing lots of goals.
Jack?
Exactly the same, over 3.5 goals for me as well, for all the same reasons, -118. That's my lean. It's impossible to try and fathom out what's going on. One thing I'd probably lean people towards outside of that would be Son, who's now played as a central striker with Solanke being out. Look at his shots on target, look at him to score. A big history of goals in this game as well between these two, so we should see plenty. Would be shocked if he doesn't get on the score sheet, or certainly test the keeper a few times. So other than over 3.5 goals is my lean, then that would be a market or two that I'd look in as well on the side of that.
We've got some leans from the boys for Villa against West Ham as well. This is a Sunday 11:30 main game, or one of the main games in the UK on Sunday. Nigel, Aston Villa -175 here. The favourites, the poor at Monaco, I thought, in midweek. Monaco aren't a great team. And they're now outside of the top 8 in the Champions League standings. They play Celtic at home next week. I mean, is the focus going to be on that? Are going to take their eye off the ball here with West Ham? But as we've just been talking about, West Ham not necessarily the type of team to take advantage of a Villa side if their focus is elsewhere. How do you see this one?
A West Ham side that want to buy one of their best players as well, Duran. Obviously, if that move does go, I don't think he'll probably play in this match. I don't think it'll be too much of a move for him. So it's going to be the same old West Ham. And at the weekend, it was awful. West Ham didn't have a shot in the whole match against Crystal Palace, not one shot on target. In the match before against Fulham had about 22 shots, scored 2 goals. West Ham had 3 shots and scored 3. They used all their luck up in that match. At this moment in time, West Ham are a club in absolute turmoil in terms of scoring goals. So this could definitely be an unders because of Aston Villa having this massive match against Celtic in the Champions League. They've got to win it. Celtic will want to do well in it as well. It's obviously a massive match for them as well. So that is definitely going to be a distraction. If this wasn't a distraction, I'd be betting Villa -1, and I think they'll cover it easily. because of that, that's why it never made my official bet. So I'm going to go for under 2.5 goals here. I just can't see how you can possibly get any goals in West Ham matches at the moment. Danny Ings may lead the line. Obviously, he's played for Aston Villa as well, and he's not the greatest of strikers at this level, and he didn't look fit when he came on as a sub. West Ham brought on 3 subs. I think the average age of them was about 17. They're down to the bare bones for the new manager here. Under 2.5 goals is plus 117. They met twice already this season. Both were 2-1 wins against for Villa. But this time around, with that match, with the fact that West Ham have a huge amount of injuries, I just can't see this being anywhere near a classic. And any other week without the Champions League, I'd be making a heavy case for Villa -1. But with that Celtic match on the horizon, under 2.5 goals plus 117.
Yeah, and as Nigel points out, Jack, that John Duran situation muddies the waters even further. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I actually had -1 Villa down as one of my first picks initially before kind of the markets were formed as looking ahead. But yeah, it's gone against that. I've actually gone with my lean as +1 West Ham. I wanted to fade West Ham because of how bad they've looked over the last couple of weeks. Couple of things that have just changed my mind on that is Villa's performances after they've played in Europe. They've obviously got a massive game, as we've said, coming up in Europe. But after Europe, they won their first one. That was against Wolves after they'd played in Europe. Then after that, they drew 2. They've lost the last 3. So as we've gone on, as the squad has been stretched a little bit, their performances have really fallen away straight after a European game, especially more so now with that one coming up. And you look at West Ham away from home, even though they've had a terrible season, they've only lost by 2 or more goals, which obviously would mean a full loss in that particular lean twice from 10 away games, 3 draws, 3 wins. So there'd be 6 wins in total and 2 pushes and two losses based on a +1 Asian handicap for West Ham. And I just say I think that this adds up to taking a chance on it. Potter will have a week on the training field as well, which I think needs to start seeing some fruit. Another option to take would be the total shots on target. I don't know what the line is, but going under that would be a play for me, because I think Villa will have to do a lot of the heavy lifting in that respect, because they've been very shot shy of West Ham, haven't they, recently?
One more game to look at from the boys. We've got Jack's hot dog, and Nigel's back with the same game parlay after nailing the same game parlay the last time that Nigel was on. Let's get the hot dog from Jack first up, though. This is the big prize play of the weekend. Fulham are favourites to beat United, I think, for the first time in Premier League history. Fulham have been good recently, but has the market caught up with them? Do we really want to bet them at around about +120? Jack, what's the hot dog?
I've gone a bit more aggressive than that. I've gone Fulham -1 Asian handicap, +250. So Man City game was going to be my hot dog, and I switched it around a little bit. So, I just fancy Fulham to take on Man United here. I'll keep this brief. You'll be pleased to know everyone's here for the same game parlay for Nigel. We know that. You're just looking at
very
Manchester
brief.
United.
That is very good. So you've got loads of time. You've got loads of time.
Well, as I said, we've already touched on Man United being their worst version of themselves in history, but they've lost 4 of the last 6 in the Premier League. All of those defeats have come by 2 or more goals. 11 league games under Amorim, 3 wins, 2 defeats, 6 losses. Look, Fulham haven't been great at home. That's the kind of caveat to the bet, but I just feel that the extra element for this is a huge, huge game for Manchester United. After we've recorded this, Thursday afternoon, they've got Rangers in a real big battle, and I think that's going to be a lot of energy expended in it. I think it's going to be a real high-octane atmosphere, and so I think the come-down from that, they'll probably get themselves up for that kind of fixture. The come-down of that from then going to Craven Cottage on Sunday late afternoon will be where we normally say that what we've seen from Man United recently. So I've gone on the -1 Asian handicap. A push if Fulham win by a single goal. Obviously, we cash the hot dog if Fulham win by 2 or more goals.
Very difficult to get with United at the moment, as we've talked about, Nigel, recently. Fulham might be too short. It's a good angle from Jack. If Fulham are going to go, they may go big. So that's the hot dog. What about the same game parlay? How many elements? How are you totting this one up for us for the big game Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, this one?
Just the one element.
Well, that can't be a same
I'm only
game
joking.
parlay.
I'm only joking.
Come on.
3 elements. I've got a massive
Yes.
3 elements here.
Wow.
There you go. 3 elements. I think Fulham will win. I think Man United are there for the taking. for exactly the same reasons that Jack has said. The only thing Jack said, Fulham haven't been great at home. They haven't lost at home since November. I know they've drawn a lot of games, but they haven't lost at home since November. United have been so much better on the road in recent weeks, with big matches against big teams, but it's at home where their performance has been awful. And Amorim said they feel the pressure at home, all this kind of stuff. United only 1 win in 8 again. Who was that against? Southampton, the common theme. Everyone, 1 win in 9, Southampton, 1 win in 10, Southampton keeping the common theme. And exactly what Jack said. This match tonight against Rangers is a huge, huge match. And that is going to take a lot out of them, whereas Fulham are going to be a lot fresher and a lot more at it. So my same game parlay is Fulham on the double chance, right? So
yes,
Fulham on the draw.
This is proper same game parlay.
Fulham on the double chance, all right? So I'm going to put that in. Over 2.5 goals. I fancy goals.
Yeah.
I think there'll be goals in this match. And I'm going to have the man who's done us some favours on these same game parlays before. We've mentioned him a lot of times. He has a lot of shots. And he cuts inside against the fullbacks who can't defend for Manchester United. And it's Iwobi to have a shot on target.
This is a lovely
and it
same
plays
game
plus
parlay.
325.
Do you know what? That's a proper same game parlay. This is what same game parlay should be. Nigel Seeley, fantastic, love
there
it.
You go, eh? You didn't expect it.
Little bit of
when
shots,
you come on before the show, you both mocked me. Same game parlay, Nigel. As if I've spent all of about.
Don't say it.
Seconds looking at that.
Don't say it. No, I don't believe you. That's a proper same game parlay.
Do you know the hardest part about the same game parlay, because I don't do it regularly, is trying to find things that actually you can put into the same game parlay without saying this selection is not allowed. This selection is not allowed because it's obviously different the prices. So yeah, that was the one. But I mean, Fulham double chance over 2.5. It won't be shot on target plus 325.
Brilliant stuff. Love it. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company as always. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone updated via our X feeds. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We'll be back next week. More picks, plays, hot dogs, and same game parlays. We've got the live show every single midweek day, and we've got the Betcast for the Champions League for Betting Weekly newsletter subscribers. Make sure you do that, and you'll be able to watch Nigel and Steve next Wednesday for the final match day of the Champions League. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. From all of us for now, though, it is goodbye.